Hi everyone, and thanks for being with me. This is day 3 of the 16 days of activism. And I want to thank those people that have at least viewed this video. It's not, or this series of videos. It doesn't seem to be as important to many people, this issues around domestic violence and its impact on women and children. Not as great as it should be, I believe, because this is a issue which concerns all of us, no matter where we live, no matter in what community we tend to habitate. It is a problem that sits with most communities, and it's killing, in Australia, at least one woman per week. Not to mention the damage that it does to families, to children who wind up without a parent, and to siblings and parents who wind up with parents, particularly who wind up without a child, being killed at the hands of a violent and abusive male. And there are solutions to this problem. And as I've said before, I have worked with the deepest amount of sincerity, for want of another word, enthusiasm, if you could call it that, to help men to better understand why it is they behave the way that they do. Yesterday I talked about emotions and how we can reconstruct or better understand the feelings that we have that might bring about behaviour which may harm another person. So today I'm going to talk a little bit more about a particular aspect of what to do about anger program that I developed many years ago, about 20 years ago, in fact. And I'm going to talk about a particular aspect of this, which some of you who have experienced or been to courses around domestic violence may very well know. But this particular aspect of domestic violence, which is talking about the cycle of violence, is important to understand because I think most of us men go through this particular cycle at some particular point. Some of us find it probably it produces more aggressive behaviour than others, but many of us feel what happens during this cycle. So my experience is that most men that I speak to understand this. They appreciate to some extent that this is a reflection of their behaviour, and it's therefore important for us to be able to discuss what this cycle is. So I'm going to run through it and explain it as I would explain it to a group of people, not just men, but people dealing with anger as an issue in their lives. And so it looks something like this. So the first thing I'd say to them is that there's a moment, there's this time when you discover that things aren't working out for you as you think they should be, and there is an explosion. And the explosion itself can present in many forms, and it can become something which is to some people insignificant. It's just going off. For other people, it can be insults, it can be aggression, it can be a whole host of unhelpful attitudes. So it's sometimes around the notion that I'm right and you're wrong. It can be intimidatory. It can be wanting to punish or hurt the other person. It can be demanding, blaming, name-calling, shouting, yelling, and lashing out. So it could be any of those particular aspects which might produce this particular explosion. So the explosion, though, leads to another area which we refer to as the aftermath. And the aftermath is quite an interesting position. And I want all of you to think about, does this relate to me in some way? Is this something I find myself doing? Do I apologise? Do I, after the explosion, after you've said and done all these terrible things, do I apologise? Do I promise that it'll never happen again? Do I blame myself? Do I feel bad? Do I feel guilty or remorseful? And one of the things I've noticed that a lot of men do is that they sulk. So they after admitting all of this stuff and saying they feel guilty for what they've done, uh, they disappear. They refuse to talk about it sometimes. They dismiss anything that might have happened because they want it to go away. So the aftermath is a pretty important and strategic stage, I think, of all of this. And then there's this other period which fascinates me endlessly, and that is the false calm. Now, that's when a person who realizes that they've done something they shouldn't have done. They often don't realise the degree to which their behaviour has actually impacted the other person, but they know that the other person is feeling hurt or being rejected or rejecting them for their behaviour. So they become perfect. They kind of become the martyr. They decide that they're going to, I don't know, clean the gutters for the first time, vacuum the house, put away the dishes into the dishwasher. They're going to do something that they believe somehow is going to make up for what they have done. Now, when I present this to people in a group, I go through all of these behaviours. They don't want to rock the boat. And I say to them, is this how you feel in this calm, in this period? After the explosion, after you've apologised, you promised you won't do it again, blah, 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 blah. And then you come to this other point. You say, oh, I've got to do all these things that I should be now doing to help the situation because I'm feeling so guilty about it. And I'd say to guys, this particular position is bullshit. This is, to me, as a male, this is the most disgraceful place a guy could be, because the problem is never addressed in this false calm. Because, and I'd say to the group, now, while you're in this period, where do you think the person is that you've just exploded at? Where are they in all of this? So you've gone through, you promised you'd never do it again. You probably promised you'd never do it again 100 times. You know, what does that really mean? And then you're in this false calm period, and you just you're not focusing on where the person is that you've had a go at. And I'll say to the groups, just work out, try and think about, where do you think the woman is in relation to your explosion? And to my surprise, most people would mess around that. They would not understand it. They don't understand the question. They have no concept of where she would be. And it takes a lot of prodding in order to get someone to say she's still back at the explosion. And women can remain in that position, in the explosive position, for ages, for a long time, and sometimes not just weeks and months, but years, they can remain in that explosive moment. And in the meantime, while they're there, we as men are saying, well, I'm sorry, won't happen again. I'll do all these things for you. How could you feel the way that you do? I've just, cleaned the gutters. I've just swept the backyard. I've just done all these other things that you wanted me to do. Suddenly I am the greatest person on earth. That is crazy shit. And we must find ways to do it differently. And it's at this point that we must break the cycle. Because if we don't break the cycle right here and now, what we discover is that because the woman is still at this explosive stage, that the irritableness, the tension, so we move through that, the martyr stage, and we now come to a place whereby, because nothing is resolved, No, we haven't sat down, we haven't talked to them, we haven't listened to what they've had to say. We're so busy thinking about, how great I am because I'm now not doing the things I was doing, and that I'm trying to make up for it all somehow, that we get to this point where we become irritable, that the tension that exists between us because nothing has been resolved starts to build again. This stinking thinking, I can never do anything right. I'm always wrong. I'm never listened to. She doesn't love me. She doesn't want me. I keep feeling rejected. It's always her fault. If we hadn't had the kids, none of this would have happened. And we blame others. And we feel walked over. And we certainly feel not listened to. And as a result of all of that, the feelings of resentment start to build again. So we've left behind us this false calm, because it is false, because nothing gets resolved. We've moved through this other stage, and we wind back up at this position of explosion. And so what I would say to people is we need to find a way. Firstly, we need to avoid the explosion. So we need to cease going around and around in this cycle. And that it's really important for us to find ways to stop it. Now, one of the ways is to go to an anger management program. Another one is to get counselling. Another is to find ways, in my view, to talk about what the explosion does to the other person. So the questions we need to be asking is, when we have this argument, when I explode at you, I need to know what that experience is like for you, and to have an honest conversation. Now, the problem with that often is that a woman may not wish to have that conversation with you because they don't believe that you're going to listen to them. If it happens over and over again, they're not going to believe that you simply saying, I'm sorry and I want to listen to you, is necessarily going to make a difference. But what does make a difference is at least the effort to listen to them about what has happened to them and endeavour to understand what that experience is like for you or for them. That they feel afraid of you, that they don't want to talk to you, that they're walking on eggshells all the time around you. What's it like for the children? There's I've forgotten the name of the movie now, but there's a New Zealand movie which I used to have a segment to. I wish I could remember the name. Anyway, when in that movie there's a scene where the male partner is beating up the female, and there's this shot of these children under a bed looking so fearful and helpless and hopeless about what is happening to their mother. It's an amazing shot. And one of the things we need to realise is that amongst all of this, if we've got children, they may not see it, but they hear it. And that the impact on them is profound. So if we're not interested in how our partner is feeling, at least we need to be able to be interested enough in how your behaviour impacts the children. But certainly, one needs to have a conversation with your partner about how this is impacting her. So, as I said before, if you wish to contact me, you can do so also on this particular email, and let me know what you think in terms of particularly yesterday and the feeling word list, and any further information that you may wish to get. Please give me a call, and please subscribe to my channel and ring the bell for further notifications. I do hope that that over these 16 days, some of what I say can resonate with those of you where there is an issue around your behaviour and its impact of others. because it is up to us men to make a change. I am horrified by the abusive behaviour perpetrated by my gender against women and children. It is an embarrassment to us, to me, and I think it should be an embarrassment to us men. And we need to make a difference. I'm trying to do that by having these conversations with you on YouTube. I hope you find a way to make a difference with your relationship by chatting to your partner about, if you're a female, about how that experience is for you, and if you're a male, about how that experience is for her. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. In the meantime, take care, look after yourselves, and keep everybody that is around you and that you love, keep them safe.